Hey, it's Dr. Joseph with Vail Summit Orthopedics. Today I want to talk about a really common entity that I see almost every day in clinic called trigger finger. And a trigger finger technically is a tenosynovitis, so that we always have to put a big long word with a common condition. But what that means is, let's take this ring finger right here. The ring finger, of course, has the tendons that make it move, and those tendons, or the ropes, have a little snotty tenosynovium, which is kind of a slippery surface that goes over the top of it that kind of bathes them and keeps them slippery. For no good reason, it can get inflamed. And when they get really inflamed, then they can form almost sort of a nodule. And that little nodule will start to get stuck. And it'll get stuck underneath a little pulley. So inside of all our fingers are 5 pulleys that go down the finger. This one right here at the base of the finger is called the A1 pulley. That's the one involved with trigger finger. And so if you get an inflamed finger, that starts to be annoying and tender, and then it starts to lock. And that's why they call it a trigger finger, because it'll as you bring your finger down, click, it'll lock down, and then patients literally with their other hand have to unlock it, and it's kind of painful. Some patients say, well, no, this one just locks over and over again, but it doesn't really hurt me. So there's that type of trigger finger. Those usually go on to be painful, but more commonly patients have a painful locking where it catches. And they usually have tenderness right in that area. So again, it's at the base of the finger with a little bit of clicking, a little bit of locking. If patients have that, and they've tried routine stuff like anti-inflammatories, icing, and giving it a little time, sometimes a little nighttime splinting with it straight, and a couple of weeks go by and it's still quite debilitating, we're real quick to offer an injection, because the injection carries at least a 90% success rate of fixing the problem for good. And so rarely, if it continues to come back 2 times, 3 times, and we've tried 1 or 2 or 3 injections, then we'll offer a release, meaning a minor surgery to fix this. The surgery is about 5 minutes long. It's very short, little bitty incision, and basically we go find the little pulley I was just talking about, the A1 pulley, and all you do is just release that little pulley. That pulley is expendable, meaning, of course, we don't need that for the full function of our fingers, or else we'd never just release it. But it's expendable, so we can release that little tendon, and we even do it with patients completely wide awake with no anesthesia other than locally right there. Once we fix it, we'll have them literally bend their own hand in the surgery, during the surgery itself while we're looking at the tendon, and it won't click, it won't lock, and the problem is fixed. And so you don't have to go repair that tendon, that pulley later. It'll reform, but it'll form bigger, and so it doesn't tend to retrap. And so that's only about 10%. 90% of these are fixed with an injection. They're very common in diabetics. They're common in patients that may do repetitive stuff. We tend to see it in 40, 50, 60-year-olds, sometimes 70, 80-year-olds. We don't typically see it in younger patients. And there's nothing wrong with the tendon typically. And once we release that pulley or do the injection, that usually fixes it permanently. So we like that entity of trigger finger because it has a really high success rate. If it ever comes to surgery, that carries at least a 95% success rate. So if you think you've got a locking finger or a triggering finger, then come see us at Vail Summit Orthopedics, Dr. Joseph.